Let's face it, most people out there are using tools like ChatGPT or Claude for their AI needs. But what about the other ones like NotebookLM and Google Gemini? These are really powerful tools, yet they don't get nearly enough love. So in today's video, we're going to show you how to harness these tools to build your very own research assistant. We'll dive into using NotebookLM, integrating it with Google Gemini to create stunning visuals, and actually using it for targeted research to boost your productivity and create high quality outputs. And finally, you can find the full show notes and all the episodes along with all of our deep dives in our newsletter. All right, let's dive into the episode. Wyndo, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you. I think this is going to be a really great episode to learn not just about Gemini, but also about NotebookLM, just about how to do really good research and analysis on data. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I want people to learn about. What are we going to learn today from what you're going to be showing to us?
Yeah, I think the thing is what got into me to the NotebookLM and Gemini, especially. I think like these are like underrated tools for sure. Like it's not like many people actually using this in a daily basis, and most of people actually using like a ChatGPT or like Claude, let's say, right? But yeah, I hardly know people actually use this a lot. And basically, what we will learn in this sessions is how to like make NotebookLM and Gemini as a combination of your research assistant. So you don't have to subscribe or anything or like paying another dollar for another AI, but you can basically build like a complex research assistant where you can learn anything and you can like create a post or like create a module or learning module, or also like visualize it in the good way for you to let's say to present to your boss or like to your manager around your specific marketing campaign or like your specific strategic projects, and by using this combination of Google products, NotebookLM and Gemini.
And I think it's something to be said is that Google has certainly taken leaps and bounds in terms of developing their AI. They're obviously a bit slow to the AI game, but over the past couple of years, they've significantly increased their momentum when it comes to building AI. And Gemini 2.5, which is their latest release, has been incredible in terms of performance. So slowly but surely, Google is accelerating in this, and I'm looking forward, and it's becoming so powerful. Gemini and NotebookLM combined, and just a whole suite of tools. So yeah, let's dive into it. What are you going to show us?
Yeah, this is the interface for NotebookLM. If some of you don't know, NotebookLM is mostly around research assistant. So basically, what makes NotebookLM is interesting, they handle two part of the problem of the current AI, like ChatGPT, Claude, or like Gemini, is basically reducing the hallucinations, and they have like a huge context window, which is they can contain around like 25 million words. So the problem with the current AI, like ChatGPT or like Claude, whenever you ask something, they can hallucinate because due to their training model that is not completed. And while the NotebookLM, you can like basically how it works, it cannot reason out of your source. So you need to basically put your source first, whether it is article, YouTube video, or like PDF files or anything. So from there, then you can ask anything NotebookLM to basically extract insight or summarize anything that you want based on the source. But also like they can contain a lot of words, so you can actually put anything like almost like 50 source without having to kind of like have limitation in terms of the context window with the current AI. So I have this source, which let's just start from learning from engineering. So basically, right now we are in the interface for NotebookLM. So these are the source that I've basically already put here, but we can edit later. But before we continue, I just want to run through kind of quick feature. Since like NotebookLM cannot reason their way out of the source, then you need to make sure like you have to put source in NotebookLM. And why NotebookLM is interesting, because like they allow you to have multi-model inputs. What does it mean? It means like you can put like Google Docs, Google Slide, website, YouTube link, and copy text as well, while other LLMs or like other AIs cannot do this. So let's say if you just browsing around and then you find some articles, then basically you can just click the website and paste the link here, and then NotebookLM will extract any text inside that page. That's basically what I have done before for this. So I manually run through specific article or like YouTube video and paste it manually here. What we can do first, like we can just like simple chat, like using that simple chat feature, just summarize everything I need to know about from engineering across source. So what you can do, play around here, you can checklist the source. So whenever you ask something, basically these are all checklisted. What does it mean is basically whenever you ask something, it will extract insights from all of the source. But if you, let's say, if you only checklist this one, then it will only extract insight from this specific source. So you need to play around with how you want to extract insight from certain source that you have uploaded to summarize everything. This is where the AI will work. So yeah, so it will return you the summarize for from engineering, which is all basically text-based. So this is what you need to know, defining from engineering and core principle, and with bulleted list and effective from engineering technique and so on. So yeah, all these are done by NotebookLM. But also like there is kind of trick I think most people overlook. So let's say if you want to summarize what the source actually say, let's say I want to summarize each source and make table to explain it. Because like the thing is, due to their limitation on the chat interface, so you cannot like create a visual or anything. But if you run through this heavy text, it's really hard, right? And you actually don't know which segment it is and so on. So you can actually segment it into a table and just ask it to generate a table. So you can basically see what each source will tell. It will try to understand, and it will create a podcast as if like two people actually talking about prompt engineering. It's like, yeah, it really feels like a real conversation from two people, natural conversations around prompt engineering that people can listen to. So this is really good. Like if you don't have time to actually learn this, and let's say if you are commuting or like you driving or like you are running or like walking, then you can create this and copy the link, and then you can access it on mobile browser. Or if you have like mobile apps for NotebookLM, then you can just create the podcast there, and you can listen directly from the mobile apps while you're walking, driving, or like commuting and so on. So it's really good to learn. But what this opens up is like a custom learning for you that suits your needs or like your interest, right? So whenever, yeah, sometimes we just want to learn specific topics that we find interesting, but we cannot find a podcast that actually does it. Then you can just create your own podcast based on your like nerdy stuff or whatever that interests you, and then you can listen it on the way. Basically, that's really interesting. And last thing, they have like this interactive mode where you can join the conversation, the podcast, by asking the AI podcaster anything that you want. So if you run this and then you play video, and then the join button will shine, and then from there you can, once you click it, then you can ask the AI generated podcaster with your questions, whatever it is, and then it will use this source that you have provided to answer your questions. I think that's really cool. So from
Can we
there,
do a quick example of that? Can you show it? Try it.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're
Yeah.
then let's say,
diving headfirst into AI prompt engineering.
Yeah, that's a hot topic.
Oh, hey there. How can we help?
hey, can you explain me like what are the tips for me to actually improve my prompt engineering? I think I don't have like a good skill on this. I need your tips to improve my skills.
Hey there. That's exactly what we're coming to unpack today.
Great question, and it's something a lot of people are thinking about.
One of the biggest things we've seen is just to read good prompts.
And even more importantly, really study the model's responses.
Don't just look at the final answer. dig into how it got there.
The Anthropic folks really emphasize that looking closely at the outputs.
They said it's like in machine learning, look at your data.
For prompting, it's look at the model outputs, read them carefully.
Another tip is to just practice a lot, experiment constantly.
That iterative back and forth with the model is key to learning.
And don't be afraid to try and make the model do hard things.
Push its boundaries,
That's
see
really
what
cool.
it's capable of and where it struggles.
You can pause that. I mean, the fact that you can join in, because when I used the first generation of NotebookLM and the podcast feature, I thought that was amazing because usually I'm not, I don't, if I'm busy and all that stuff, I want to just listen to stuff on the road. And also, I feel like I absorb more information when I'm listening to things, especially during a conversation when, you hear a Joe Rogan podcast or something like that. You definitely get to understand the context more. Now with this new feature of being able to join in, I mean that's pretty cool. I mean the fact that you feel like, hey, if I just don't understand a concept properly, you can just ask the AI and it will be able to give you an audio answer in real time. I think that's pretty incredible.
I think that suits like back to our like, because like some people actually good at learning through visual, but some people actually good through listening, right? And this opens up possibilities that we can also learn from listening, and we don't have to do like we don't have to listen to the podcast, because like a podcast on YouTube or like Spotify, because like some podcasts don't suit our needs, right? And then we can just create it based on the topics that we are really interested in genuinely interested in. And then from there, we create a podcast and then we can ask anything, as if like, we're having these conversations with people, which is really cool for me.
Yeah, so cool.
What's next? So we can use, so we can go to the Gemini, but basically what we can do right now is combining how we can leverage NotebookLM. We're also combining with what Gemini can do in terms of like doing researching for specific type of research. So let's say in this we want to research brand messaging or key messaging for Trello, Asana, ClickUp, and Monday.com, because like these type of business are like these business are project management tools, right? But sometimes like as let's say if you are working on the marketing side, then you want to understand like how they position themselves, or like how their brand messaging difference compared to others.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really useful for people to look at, looking at doing competitor analysis, doing some sort of like deep dive into a particular topic, maybe the financial industry or whatever it is. I think it's going to be useful. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this works.
So manually, this is nothing complicated in this. It's just like I put like asana.com and then just copy this.
So it's just the website, right? It's just, you just put in the
it's
website of Asana, ClickUp, all that stuff,
exactly.
Monday.com. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Just I put it here, and simply just you can manually do it. And but I also put why these are more. So I also put their pricing page as well. So there are two pages here, each of Asana, ClickUp, Monday, and Trello, for their home and also their pricing page. So what we can do here is basically simply just asking like their key messaging to understand like where they are and where we can improve and what are the pros and cons for each of those. So we can just simply asking like simple things like they give me comparison between each of these tools, Asana, Trello, ClickUp, and Monday.com around their key messaging, measure to add tables, because add tables to make sure like we can visualize it a better way. Okay, so yes, it's showing up. Basically, the Asana is more like easily organize your works, power control customizations, Trello capture, organize, tackle your to-do from anywhere, ClickUp everything app for work, and Monday.com made for work, design to love, and so on. So we can understand like these, each tool emphasize for each of use productivity, connecting work. Asana highlights connecting work to goals and so on. And And then from there, we can further asking. So let's do this. Can you create pros and cons analysis to understand their key messaging and create opportunity landscape that I can utilize to improve my product? Assume my product is similar as them. So let's say if you want to build another project management tools, right? You need to understand the pros and cons of how their messaging works. And then from there, you can ask NotebookLM to create opportunity landscape so you can improve your product. The problem with this is like we don't have knowledge with our own product. So if you have like your own knowledge for our product, you can put it on your resource as well, and then make it compare to yours. That's another thing that you can do. But for now, we just assume my product is similar as them, so we can understand where this will take us to. So Asana, like strong positioning for scale, but cons like messaging might imply complexity. So I think like it makes sense. Like Asana is just like too complex for like if you are SMBs or like if you solopreneur or anything, like it's really hard to use Asana. And Trello emphasize on simplicity and ease of use. Messaging suggests less emphasis on deep complex workflow and strategic alignment. So it will lose more enterprise kind of like a market segment, but it will be more interested for like a small business. ClickUp, strong all-in-one value propositions, but they cons like everything app, so it can imply complexity because like when you try to market yourself as everything, then it's really hard to get like really strong attention from specific type of people. Monday.com balance focus and user experience, work on work and user experience, but the messaging is too broad and so on, right? So, and also like we'll create the opportunity landscape that we can leverage based assuming that our product is basically similar to them. But the problem with the NotebookLM, because like these are like heavy text focused, so sometimes like you want to have this visualizer so you can understand, or like if you want to build a deck and present to your manager or like to your board meeting, then it's really hard for this to actually visualize it in a good way and in a visual way, right? So that's why we need to take another platform, which is in this case Gemini, the same, still Google products, but since like I think what Barry mentioned earlier, like Gemini has this 2.5 Pro or like Flash product AI LLMs, which is really good at like programming and building some kind of like simple JavaScript visualization and so on. So what we can do, we can just copy this. Just make sure copy this and then go to Gemini. Recently, we just copy a NotebookLM and just ask the Gemini to, can you visualize this using McKinsey style? For me to understand pros and cons and opportunity landscape. So yeah, and what you can do is just paste it everything that you just copy from NotebookLM and click Canvas, because this feature on the Gemini is basically to visualize everything or like build like a simple mini apps that people can use. And yeah, I mentioned this McKinsey is basically it's just like typical like a trick that you can do basically, because like McKinsey is famous with their good like presentations, like a great visual, and it's basically really good at replicating what already been used across the world. So it's really good just to mention McKinsey, and then it will help AI to actually generate and visualize that we ask in a more visual way, basically. So yeah, what it does currently is build a simple programming and as it trying to visualize the pros and cons of brand messaging across 4 project management tools and creating a landscape opportunity. Yes, so it's done. Pros and cons. This is much better in terms of my understanding but it's still like a heavy text for sure, but it's much better to actually see this. And then this is opportunity landscape. It creates kind of card, 6 cards basically to really understand. Another thing that we can do, can you create infographic based on what? Yes. So what it does is basically to create infographic, because like the earlier version was still heavy on the text. But if we asked it to for infographic, ideally it should show up in the more visual way, like a deck. Yes, like this one. So what we can
Right.
do
Okay.
just
That's really cool to see.
yes.
And it's also a public link too, so you can share it.
Yes, you can share it to anyone. Yeah, this is what you can do. Basically using, so you can visualize everything on the text. I basically have have done this previously just to make sure like we can create, just to make sure like there is another possibility of visual that you can do as well. Yes, like this one. So this is also interesting. So we can do kind of this as well with a simple, just create me like an infographic and so on. So you can have like this balance. There is this 5 scale, simplicities of use, all-in-one feature breadth, API integrations, and then core value propositions, this one, and then the opportunity landscape. This is the same as we just talked, but it's a different type of visualizations.
With the diagrams though, so obviously you've got a different types of visuals to represent this
Yes.
opportunity, the competitive landscape. But with the prompt, so what prompt did you use on this one versus the other one?
I think like if you have like specific type of outputs that you want to generate, and you can just ask it create a kind of like infographic or like web interactive mode with scale, using scale basically. So, or like using
Okay.
cards. The more specific,
So
yeah,
so it sounds like the prompt is very general when you
yeah,
did this. You're not saying, oh, create me a bar chart or
yes,
create me this, the radar graph, right? It's the LLM is deciding that for you. But at the same time, if you do know what graphs to show and you want to
yes,
say, hey, I want to show a radar graph, then you can specify in the prompt, I want a radar graph specifically. But if you don't know exactly how to present this in whatever form, then you can just leave it to Gemini to produce this for you. And, it might produce the right, the right graphs for you, might produce the wrongs. So I think that's where it's, there's a need for you to continue to iterate. Say maybe this
yes,
graph isn't right. Maybe just let's do an experiment with another type of graph. But the takeaway here though is that this feature does exist and it does allow you to be able to convert heavy text into something that's a bit more understandable, a bit more visually captive for presentations, for anything that you want to showcase, maybe on a website as well. And that's why you have code. You can show that and you can just copy and paste that into your homepage if you want to use that. So I think the feature is really useful, but I think the prompt can also require a bit more improvement along the way. This is just an example. We don't have to be very specific, but I think that the feature here about using the canvas is really important.
The interesting thing is basically you can do this with just simple prompt, like, or like even fake prompt. Basically, it's not like you don't have to be like very specific, but somehow the AI is already smart enough to actually understand how to visualize this in a good way, I guess. But if you have more understanding around like how to visualize it and like what type of like slides that you would like to prepare, or like what type of infographic you would like to prepare, and you have vocabulary for it, then you can just throw it away with the Gemini, and then it will create it for you.
Do you want to do a quick NVIDIA one as well?
Yes, last one for the Nvidia. Basically, we go back again with to the uh, NotebookLM. So I prepare for one Nvidia. So this is just one source, but we can. There is something I would like to show as well. So this is a 10K fiscal year for Nvidia 2025, which I got basically using their Discover feature. So this cover feature is basically this is the recent feature from NotebookLM. I think it just released like 2 months ago, or like 1 month ago. So what's really difference with this is it's not like as if you go to the Google and then ask Google to actually, let's say, Nvidia financial statement or like Nvidia trends, those kind of stuff, right? But it's not. It's basically use AI and it will generate like most reliable source for you. The way I got this NK form for Nvidia is just like I just asked Nvidia financial statement. So it will give you, yes, this one. Yeah, from this, you can play around with as well, like NVIDIA financial statement. You can basically segment your discover using PDF format. Then the NotebookLM will try to source only PDF. You can also do this with YouTube format as well. So yes, these are all the PDF format for and for
Right. Wow. Okay. So you can now use this particular feature, this Discover, to go outside of NotebookLM to search the web
yes,
for financial statements, whatever it may be, right? But it's very particular in the sense that it understands the context of what you're trying to do already, and it's using this Discover feature to add more, I guess, flavor to your campaign. So if you call this
yes,
NotebookLM an NVIDIA campaign, and you only have the K PDF, it's like, well, I don't need to go out and go and individually search for these financial documents one by one. I can use NotebookLM, just do the searching on my behalf, and then it will find those PDFs and then add them to the sources that you already have.
yes, yes. Yeah, you can actually, yeah. Basically, you don't have to go outside from NotebookLM. NotebookLM will do
Like
it for
everything's
you,
in like
whatever.
one location,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. Yeah, I think yeah, this is really interesting because like sometimes to find source you need to click everything. You need to open multiple
Right.
tabs on your browser, right? So it's easier for now to actually just segment whatever the source that you need, whether it is YouTube format, PDF, or like even you can do like you can focus on like a forum, so it will show up like Reddit subreddit or like posting
Okay, that's
some posts
cool.
from multiple forum basically. So you can segment this. It's really customized and it's really accurate as well. What we can do right now, I will show you later on the Discover side, but what we can do for now is we can just ask a simple question for NVIDIA. So what we want to ask is, where are NVIDIA revenue coming from? Be thorough on this. So this is just simple of like understanding, because like they have this financial statement. Let's say if you want to research around NVIDIA, then you need to understand where their revenue coming from, right? So you can know where their business growing and so
Hmm.
on. Yes, it's showing up. So yeah, what does it say now is basically for as of like January 2026, like the revenue is 130 billion, which is improving 114%, coming from mostly from data center, uh, which is coming from this data center segment, compute and networking, which sums up around 102 billion. And also they have like 11 billion on gaming and personal visualizations,
Yep.
1.9 billion and so on, right?
Nice.
And
Can you do a quick, maybe another quick prompt? Can you convert this to a graph and
yes,
visualize it by showing what is maybe, let's be a bit broad here. Let's just assume that Envy already knows the numbers and also knows the categories. Can just say, can you graph this for me or something like that?
yes, what we can do, so create new.
I like how it's so you can create these prompts so broad by, the prompts are very, you're using plays like PLS and you as you. So it kind of already understands that anyway. It already has that context. So even if you
Yes,
are grammatically incorrect or you have punctuation errors in your prompt, It will still understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. And also like you don't have to use please like me
Yeah,
because you
it's
yeah,
it's a machine.
the machine after all. Yeah, this is what needs show
Yeah,
up
look at that.
basically.
That's so
Yeah,
neat. The fact that you can do that and
yeah,
not
it's
having
amazing.
to write it, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and yeah, I want to show you another one that I basically already prepared for this one, which is I think another good way. Yes, this one. So yeah, based on our source, uh, I create I pull out the revenue and then create this year-over-year growth and total revenue, and then 3-year growth story. You can the revenue over last 3 years, which is really cool. Uh, and then this is breakdown for each of the revenue source from data center, professional visualization, and so on, and 2025 segment breakdown as well. And yes, yeah, I feel like this is really cool.
Yeah, no, I think this is pretty neat. The huge takeaway for me at least is that Gemini and also combined with NotebookLM has become so advanced in parsing, like in processing data. And one thing that I've noticed just from the past couple of months and just from what you just showed here is that with the likes of the general ChatGPT interfaces and Perplexity and all that stuff, that's only one layer of it because that's a very simple interface that you can just ask questions, it will search the web. But using NotebookLM is like another layer on top of that because it's much more refined in terms of the data sources it does use. It's very clean. It doesn't go and pull data sources from the web unless you ask it to. It's like, here, I just want you to process the information in this PDF, and that's only maybe this website and this PDF only. So you can pick and choose what sources you want a NotebookLM to process through, and then you can continue to iterate on that, make sure that the information is much more refined over time. Because with things like ChatGPT, you don't know what sort of sources they're using. I mean, it might give
Yeah.
you like a reference list, but it's pulling that from everywhere. And some of that information might not be accurate. It might be misinformation, disinformation. So if you can at least control the inputs, the quality of those inputs, you can also control the quality of the outputs as well. And that's one thing I noticed with NotebookLM is it does that really well. And then combine that with Gemini, then you can say, hey, NotebookLM is very text heavy. I get that. So that makes sense. But now I can use Gemini to visualize, create better summaries, or to do more things that I can then share with other people as well, right? But NotebookLM is really the workhorse out of this. It's processing the data, it's identifying the trends, whatever it may be, and then you're just taking that output from NotebookLM and then converting that into something more, I don't know, visually appealing for using Gemini, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the whole idea of this workflow is because this highly suitable for like researching, and you don't want the AI to be hallucinated, and you want to focus on fact-based or like database rather than asking AI to actually find the data for you. So yeah, there will be manual work in terms of like finding your source for sure, but from there you can basically improve your productivity by using NotebookLM to extract anything that highly fact-based and also like it's not hallucinated and also fast as well to process information. So you don't have to do you don't have to wait like a few minutes and so on. You can do this right away on the NotebookLM and then combine with the visual skill or like the programming skill of Gemini to actually take it to the next level and make it visual. So you can you can create a deck as easily as well. So you can present to your boss or a manager or like board meeting. I think
I think I think the other takeaway as well is that, when you work in business or corporate or certain companies that are a bit more reluctant to use ChatGPT and all those things
yeah,
because obviously for privacy reasons,
yes,
NotebookLM is a great tool because you might have, Google's already probably interfaced with a lot of other companies. People are using Google in their drives, in their email. And so you might have private data, right, that you don't want to release externally. And you can then pull in Excel files, PDF forms that are only private to your company only or your startup. And then you can do an analysis. Basically, going back to the example you mentioned about the customer surveys, right? You don't want any other competitor to have that information, right? So that would be only private to you. So imagine putting that into something like NotebookLM and being able to identify trends, right? That would be pretty neat. And the fact that you can then visualize that, you can put that into decks, you can put that into marketing materials or things that you want to share with customers, stuff like that, right? So I think every tool has its purpose, I believe. And I think like things like NotebookLM and Gemini have definitely become a bit more of a powerhouse over the past couple of months and probably more than that, just to show, how valuable this thing is.
Yeah, so sometimes like I change my mind a lot in terms of like AI. I felt like Google was behind basically, but they were late. But whenever they
Right.
do something, they do like in the more like a prominent way, right? It's strong, Once like they release this 2.5, and also like they also like really good feature as well in Gemini, and release this notebook LM. I think that's really a really good combinations. But one thing for me, I think like what I really want to actually, I'm not sure if they would do it or not, but I think it's really good if they can connect Notebook LM with Gemini somehow with permission from the users. So it's easier to actually visualize everything or connect source to Gemini. But yeah, I think there is a privacy issue here as well, which is maybe that's why they didn't do it. But if they do it, then totally unlock a new level of like productivity in terms of this producing research.
Well, that was really useful and really helpful, I think, at least to me, because I didn't really touch Gemini often. I should probably, considering what I've seen today, I should definitely be more experimenting at least with these types of tools because there are obviously reasons why companies like OpenAI want you to stick with ChatGPT only, but I think it would be wise for people to experiment. Things start using Google, start using NotebookLM, see what the advantages are, the pros and the cons. And I think that's going to helps you at least understand the landscape a little bit more. But I think what I've learned today is, definitely very useful. I think it's useful for a lot of our audience as well. But really, thank you so much, Wyndo. How do people get in contact with you if they want to learn more, if they want to follow you? What should they do?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. I'm more on Substack and also LinkedIn. You can reach out to Substack, WYNDOMB, and you can go to my LinkedIn account as well. You can find it on my Substack. Yeah, but if you also like would like consulting for the AI, how to improve your workflow and how you can connect AI into your workflow and improve your productivity, you can just DM me, whether on those channels basically.
Awesome. All right, Wyndo, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And hopefully the audience got a lot out of this.